Good morning. Good Friday morning. Thank y'all for joining us. Appreciate y'all for being on here. No matter if you are commuting, wherever you are headed to, maybe dropping off the little ones or commuting on your way to work, to the library. We are, happy for you all to be in community with us because that's what the goal is, right? Is a quick conversation today that is centered around safety, specifically holistic school safety in Chicago public schools. Something that we are, really proud to be a part of, to be in a community of folks who have been prioritizing this work for at least the last 4 years that I've been part of it. And from what I'm hearing from the community, this work dates back to over 20 years ago. So, you know, one of the things that I would like for you all to do is, while we know that, uh, watching this live is important, if you are catching this on the replay, um, drop that link, share that link, repost that link, share this broadcast, and let's engage in conversation and dialogue. I think disagreement doesn't equal disrespect. Is one of the norms that we establish when we are having difficult conversations around, what is something that we want, that we feel like we need to do in order to improve processes that or policies that have not worked for us or our children in this case in our school communities for decades. So today's conversation, whether you agree or disagree, I hope that you'll stay with us, engage with us, drop your questions, your comments in the chat. I think that there is a solution to ensuring that our children have the care, that our children and our youth have the care that they deserve in their places of learning, so that they can be primed for, all the reasons why we know trauma informed supports and counseling is the way forward and assures them the best ability to learn, right? So I'm on here today with Kendra. We're going to have a quick conversation. We won't be here long. We'll go for about, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes just to share a little bit about what's going on in terms of yesterday. CPS had a Board of Education meeting, where their monthly meeting, where among the agenda items was the proposal, not the approval of, but the proposal of the district's whole school safety plan. And it is pretty comprehensive in that it feels like a tip to tail document that covers, behavioral, uh, health teams, planning around how to, address behavior, because we've seen for far too long where discriminatory discipline has led to a lot of out of class time, suspensions, expulsions, in the school to prison pipeline. So where we, as we have examined what the release, the proposed policy, there's things to be, really excited about. And I think once we sort of, look forward, that the district is deciding to, move forward without the the Chicago Police Department school resource officer. This is an opportunity for us to move, forward in the direction of, okay, now what does safety look like? What is my role in this? There are a myriad of roles. Kendra and I were talking about that before we went live. Is like, this is an opportunity for everyone to roll up their sleeves, and it feels like the way schools used to back when we were coming up. Kendra, you want to jump in and talk a little bit about your thoughts, and let's go forward.
Yeah. Good morning, y'all. Yeah, it was just listening to the proposal. Am I saying the right word? It to me, it just sounds like it's pushing life back into the schools. I think we lost that. And over the years, I think about when back in the day, like kids look forward to going to school. And now you get kids that wake up and say, like, can I stay home today? And it's not because you're sick or anything like that. You just don't want to go. So I feel like this, not just the whole school safety plan, is not just it's not about just removing the CPD from the school. I believe it's literally just pushing the the thrill into school and the excitement of kids really getting an education, because I feel like we were kind of staring away from it, honestly. So yeah, I just, that's my biggest thought on it. It's like it's literally giving a feel. And now I ain't got to tell my kids to stop talking to me and get dressed in the morning because they don't want to go to school. Yeah, you on mute.
I think one of the things that, I, um, have been looking for over the years, right, is um, making sure that we um, just not to have the appearance that this was going to feel like it was cutting corners, that it didn't feel like it was going far enough. I'm still examining it and talking with other folks, thought partners, but it answers a lot of, I'll be curious to hear, Kendra, as you read through like what's coming up for you. Um, you know, the professional development. I'm thinking of like this 360 approach, thus, holistic. I think about all the things that need to come together to make sure that this was going to be successful. Um, and I feel like my camera is glitching a bit. Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you. So
Okay.
I when I read through it, it's like exactly what I the thought that I had of um it, like I said, pushing life back into the classrooms. We get a lot of um I'm jumbling my words in my head, but it's like really pre-pandemic we were already in a rocky stage, and then now when the pandemic hit, it threw a lot of people off. Teachers, and like literally giving grace to those teachers that, although they had a job to do, it was real hard. And I seen it firsthand. Just trying to pull back into getting the groove of things back. So with the professional development that they're proposing, it just sounds wonderful. It sounds like it's giving everybody a chance to build that momentum back up and get to what we need going in our schools. I think about I thought about the part about the community and parent um, aspect of working with the parents. And we know for years we have not gotten that. I had a parent literally tell me yesterday that I just want to be able to go into school. The schools ask for the parents to wait on the outside, or you can't come in the building and things like that. So I feel like if they are being inviting the parents and the community back into the schools, we can, just build it back up to what it used to be and get some learning done. Like if everybody on the same page, like everybody, our kids are gonna be the winners out of all of it. And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what we want. That's what I thought everybody wanted. So yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, I agree. I also have, I was really looking for ways that we could bring in mentorship and lived experience. So to make sure that there was this connect, if I wanted to make sure that I could like see where the community has the opportunity to be a part of this, right? And so I think that's reflected in the process that, that got us here, is that there was, an opportunity for us to share, what we thought needed to be heard. And that doesn't come from us because we wanted it. That's what the youth have been saying for years, for decades. It's what, like you said, parents have continued to say. I mean, that's why yesterday it was, just felt like, man, it's about time that that we're here. Listen, historically, CPS's data, its own data, right, has shown the impacts and effects of discriminatory discipline. And so, if folks are saying like, well, the research says, let's start there. And so if we know that discriminatory discipline is wrongheaded and quite honestly unlawful, according to the, Department of Education and protections for students, historically marginalized students who are impacted by this in large part. We've seen the discipline data. To your point, Kendra, when you talked about post-COVID, post, the pandemic, or wherever we are in that space, we see the numbers going in the wrong direction again. They were trending down like early 2020, but we see things going and I think like you said, there's a room for, training. There's a room for, circles, community spaces where we really do have to, open our chest and our minds, whether we, go into it with, a closed fist, with the idea that we all want the same thing. So let's, figure out what that looks like and struggle to, and really be in principle struggle together. I wanted us to look at, I was hoping that the district was going to actually have, what do you call that? It's where what they voted on yesterday was to open the comment period. So I think it's like a 30-day comment period to allow us, the community, to, give their comments, reflections on that whole school safety, that proposed policy. I don't see it on their website yet. Perhaps, it was less than 24 hours ago. So hopefully it'll be up later today. But I did want to, if I could, just share a little bit of what the policy says, and I think it's important, and it's going to inform this next part of our conversation coming up with regards to a pretty bad bill that's floating in the Illinois House right now. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. And let's look at, okay, are you able to see my screen, Kendra? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Cool. So for everyone who didn't catch the CPS board meeting live, it's available on YouTube. Go to our social media at IO Raise Your Hand. On Facebook, Twitter, we've posted the link, but also just search Chicago Public Schools on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the May 23rd board meeting and the presentation of this policy. So, for everyone who doesn't know the history, going back to the summer of 2020, during the very powerful youth-led Cops Out CPS campaign with, a myriad of supporters, folks who have been doing this work in the city for over a decade, really partnered, or at least, shared the space in terms of moving towards a police-free school after the reckoning of the murder of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many more. So as a result of that work, the district entered into a resolution that said in the next 4 years, the CPS CEO would come up with a plan to phase out the use of Chicago's, the police department's SRO, or school resource officer. So this policy has been, 4 years in the making. For those who aren't on local school councils, there's been some very liberatory work happening in those spaces through their safety plans that they have, been working on for the last 4 years. So that work is going to continue. However, it's going to strengthen quite a bit. And so forgive the scroll, but I did just want to like highlight a couple of things here. And we'll drop the link for this in the chat. It's available on CPS Board of Ed website. But this policy centers on what you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The three pillars are physical safety, emotional safety, and relational trust. The definitions that are there on the screen. And when you really, see like this is the bottom line up front. And then when you read further into this policy, I think you'll see where this is where we were saying a minute ago that it really does cover sort of a tip to tail or 360 approach to the things that we know have harmed our young people and have really created a climate of discriminatory discipline that we must, see through. A lot of it, we were talking about this on staff, is aspirational in way. It feels aspirational in ways because we know the district is facing a fiscal cliff. So this is where we see opportunity for community to where are the places that you are able to, maybe you have an organization or a nonprofit, or you have suggestions about how we can really see this policy to come to fruition so that our young people have all the things that they need. There are accountability measures in here. It talks about training and retraining of staff, the collaboration across teams. I've I'm going to land here in a moment, Kendra, because I would love to hear your thoughts a little bit if you wanted to highlight a specific area, but where it talks about the connectedness between the social and emotional learning with those culture and climate teams and behavioral health teams, the peace circles. This really was, community informed because it works. And so to see it here, and perhaps, once the board decides to vote in the future, to see it codified in this way is a good step forward. Like, do I feel like this is the end all be all? Absolutely not. But it really does take us beyond the legacy of what, again, discriminatory discipline in CPS has looked like over the years. Go ahead, Kendra, jump in.
Yeah, this part is really what moves me. Just being uh, working in the school for years, being a parent volunteer in the school for years, and just knowing that this work, being able to meet the kids where they were, it's not always about that discipline that officers give. And I don't want to like focus on that. I really want to just bring to light that community and parents is what make the world go round. So it definitely is what's gonna make the schools work. If you put that that type of energy back into the schools, I feel like we'll get a better outcome. I just think about when we had parents and community workers like grandmas or just
Right.
elder in a neighborhood that would come in and help the pre-K and kindergartners read. Um, just things like that. So I don't know. I'm trusting in this. Like I know, like you said, like is this the end all? No, it's not. But it is definitely a start, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of hard to impress. And this is kind of like making me say, well, okay, I remember when I stopped working in the schools, I always said like I would never want to do that again. Like I would never want to be. I definitely never wanted to be a teacher. But I just it was a thing that was like I just didn't want to do these things anymore. But now, like with this coming up, it's almost given uh this like little a saying like, there's a what's that, the light at the end of the rainbow, like it's coming. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's real. And so what we want, you all to, I'm going to drop, someone is asking for the link. So this is the link to the CPS board agenda from yesterday. And so what you'll need to do is scroll or do a keyword search for, safety. So dropping the link in the chat. And so just to close, this loop, I encourage everyone to grab that link, read through the document for yourself, highlight it. Where do you agree? And then I think once you look at that, and then again, if you go back and do some research at Cops Out CPS's youth-led website, there's a lot of data there that is available, still relatively relevant in terms of this was just 2020, that what the work that led up to this really happening. And I spoke at the board meeting yesterday, and I talked about pulling us back just a little bit. Remember, there was an investigation into the Chicago Police Department by the Department of Justice after the murder of Laquan McDonald, and they found categorical need for reform. And so a federal judge entered into a consent decree with the city of Chicago and the police department for reform measures. 5 years later, that document remains largely unmet. Particularly the areas, if you go and look at the monitoring areas, there's two areas that highlight youth and interaction or policing of youth. And one of those highlighted, uh, officers in schools. And it essentially encourages the district to move in a different direction because of the complaints, the confirmed assaults, right? The harm, the school to prison nexus was clear in black and white. And so there were recommendations that were made that forced reforms. Before that consent decree, there were SROs in our schools with like over 60 plus complaints, verified discipline, a legacy of harm, or at least complaints of harm. And these folks were in our schools and our hallways. So, the district has made slow, I think, iterative changes to reform, like the engagement that police had in our schools. And many folks don't know that today, according to the Student Code of Conduct, SROs were not able to, or today are not able to engage unless there's a violation of the law. So when folks are like, "Oh, our SRO is great," they're in the lunchroom, during, lunch, that's feels like a little bit like jail, but they're not allowed to do that according to CPS's current policy. So as you read this whole school safety plan, you'll see where it is making it even more clear that there's a mandate for us to move forward. Um, Kendra, final thought before we move forward?
Um, just thinking about what you just said, of having those police officers in the school and the experience that I had with police officers in a grammar school.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't good, and I seen it firsthand. And a lot of the kids that we had that were on the rough end of that trauma, um, life just trickled to that way, and like the distress that we have. I had a conversation. I'm a mom of four boys, and I don't even want to like really get into like my thought, like, because it we'll be on here 2 hours saying, but yeah, I'm just thinking about the harm. I've seen way more harm than good, and I'm just glad it's coming to an end. That's the best way I can say it.
Definitely an opportunity. I know we're going to talk a little bit before we wrap up around opportunities for LSCs, for parents, community, folks who are just interested in having this conversation to join us in community spaces. So stay tuned. We will be dropping the links to that. And of course, if we happen to miss you live, we'll be posting these links as well on our social media. One other, let's see, should we pivot to our final discussion point for today? All right. Let's see if we have this queued up. All right. So we are going to momentarily be out of your focus, out of off the screen for a moment because we're going to share another area that we're really hoping that we can, say like, hey, the district is, you know, based off this community informed process where we are trying to right the wrongs, figure out where we move forward. Um, in the background or down in Springfield, we have legislators who are considering a House bill that will turn the clocks back. And that is wrongheaded. It is not in order. And we really are hoping that folks will join us today by reaching out to your state rep, your state senators, to tell them to vote no on House Bill 5008. House Bill 5008, like I said, is wrongheaded in the way in that it is one that it is going to, as it's written, allow local school councils to enter into a contract with the Chicago Police Department. Now, this is, I mean, it stands aside of what we know, what we just talked about, right? We know that what we are trying to move toward is a space where we have holistic whole school safety. And so when we have bills like this that really get in, the way of that, we have to really push back against it. So on our social media, you will see this graphic that you see here on the screen. It's a really, short process where we'll drop this link in the chat. If we can get that link dropped in the chat, I appreciate it. And that link will take you to find your state legislator, whether it's your House rep and your House Senate. All you have to do is input your home address, hit the submit, and it will give you the phone numbers to both their district office, their Springfield office, as well as email addresses so that you can do this urgent outreach. This bill is, in my opinion, too close to sailing through to pass. And we really just don't want to have people, largely a lot of the legislators that are on this bill are not from Chicago. This is a bill that we see being introduced in bills, or excuse me, in states that really have a regressive and oppressive legacy. And so to really see this moving up in Illinois, but only focused in Chicago, this bill does not, state that SROs must be in schools across the state. This bill is saying SROs must be decided on by the local school council in Chicago, a city that is disproportionately serving children and families who are Black, Latinx, special needs, who have been especially harmed by police and schools. So we really need everyone to, support all hands on deck, contacting your rep and letting them know to vote no on this bill. Today is their last day in session. So we'll really appreciate folks being able to join us in this call to action. Kendra, your thoughts Did I forget anything on that?
No, just um, I'm keep jumbling my words this morning because I was just reading over that again, and I'm trying to connect to drop some stuff in the chat, but it's acting up. But no, you did not forget anything. We just really need to move and take action on those on this bill. Um, yeah, that's all.
I was trying to, let me see if I can. I'm going to try one more time. Uh, let's see. I'll try to find the overlay that I was looking for so that folks can see that. It's just not, it won't allow me to share that. So while I do that, I do want to keep us to our time. We don't want to hold folks too long. Kendra, do you want to get into next steps and what we have coming up for folks to engage with us in community conversations around this and so much more?
Absolutely. Uh, I'm having a hard time dropping that link, those links, but yes. So we have a LSC retreat community event coming up June 1st, and we would love to see you all there. You don't have to be a LSC member. It's going to be a very informative, fun day. Raise your hand style. That is June 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at National Teachers Academy. That's NTA at 55 West Cermak. That link will be dropped in the chat to register to come and be a community with us. We also have a LSC module training for June 4th. This training is virtual and it will be on roles and responsibility and effective LSC meetings. That mom training will go from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. June 4th on Zoom. So we'll also drop that link in the chat. We have a parent leaders meeting coming June 6th. And this leaders meeting, we want to have another community space to where parents can come and get a feel of raise your hand. Like we know it's the end of the school year, but we want to get some ideals and work and be a community with our parents for the upcoming school year and just have a very, very powerful next school year. And I believe that's all we have coming. All those things can be found on Raise Your Hands website. We are dropping the links in the chat. And if you need to connect with me, I am Kendra at ilraiseyourhand.org with any concerns or comments or anything that you just have going on with the schools and you want some to talk through with or, whatever. I'm available. Please don't CPS alone. We always want to push that narrative that you don't have to CPS alone. Raise Your Hand is right here to help. Like we right here to be a community with you. You don't have to. We all in this together. I'm a mom of a bunch of CPS students and a grandma, so we all are riding this wave together, y'all. That's what
That is right. Well said. So I did get the overlay up really quickly, everything that Kendra said. And just to give you something to look at in terms of this bill, I'm going to take a couple of things down here just so that it is, so you can see this is a snapshot from Illinois General Assembly with the status of this bill. Take a screenshot of this if you see your representative here listed as a House sponsor, especially reach out to them. And, for those who may be in commute, a synopsis or, a brief on this says essentially amends the Chicago School District Article of the School Code, provides that a local school council shall have and exercise the power and duty to contract with the Chicago Police Department to have police officers or school resource officers on school grounds effective immediately. Again, we started this conversation looking at the whole school safety, the proposed policy that, if approved at the board meeting, I believe, if not June, July, that takes us to a new wave of protecting our children, making sure that they can learn with quality education without discriminatory discipline. This bill flies in the face of that, while you know, in a reaction to what the district is doing is just wrongheaded. So again, take that screenshot. If you didn't catch this live, perhaps you'll come back to it later. We'll actually post this screenshot of this on our social media with a link so that folks can watch live and see what's happening with this bill. But again, encourage your legislator to vote no, and ask them to look at the proposed whole safety policy that takes a holistic and comprehensive approach to ensuring safety in Chicago public schools. Appreciate y'all solidarity for making that happen. Um, Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Join us in community. We can be in principal struggle together, and really lean in on the opportunities that this provides, and really closing those opportunity gaps and those who've been furthest from opportunities due to discriminatory discipline. All right, y'all. Kendra, last word.
Vote.
That's right. Stay
That's like
engaged.
that. Stay on top of this, y'all. We need this. We need to bring our schools back. We need to empower not only our parents and community, but we need to empower our kids to get back to what back to excellence. That's it. That's what I get. Peace, y'all.